Hi everyone, this is Rishabh here. I'm a data science enthusiast and currently I'm a part of Elmabetter. And today I will be discussing with you we have unsupervised learning algorithms. So we will be going through some of these algorithms, like we will be going through k-means, a hierarchical clustering, and these kind of algorithms and see their functionalities, right? So I will be taking you to few slides and notebooks with the help of which I will try to explain you what key means and what does clustering means, right? So what happened is basically unsupervised learning is unsupervised algorithm is an algorithm in which we don't have any labeled data, right? That's why it is called as unsupervised learning because we don't have any supervisor to supervise our data, right? So what we will be doing is we'll be sort of doing clustering. We will be grouping the things together, right? So as it is so obvious that similar kind of things will group together, and basically all the similar types of group will group together so that we will conclude and discover some pattern out of that, right? This particular cluster belongs to this type of thing, this particular belongs to this type of thing, depending on our problem statement, right? So let me just share my screen and we will see how it works, right? So yeah, so clustering is basically considered as the most important unsupervised learning, and it is nothing, as I told you, that it will, with the help of available algorithm, it will form basically clusters of data points that are similar to each other, right? So as you can see, there are five clusters with different colors. These different colors is defining their basically similarity to each other, right? This yellow, these yellow data points are grouped together to form a single cluster, and same as the way for red and black and sky blue, right? So the very first and the very popular algorithm in this unsupervised learning clustering is k-means, right? So this is very important and very foundation of clustering. So what happens is I would like to basically initialize, demonstrate this with the help of visual representation so that you can actually get it in a better way, right? So as you can see this, suppose we have these data points available with us, right? These white dots are our data points, right? So in key means clustering, what happen is we are basically doing four steps, right? See, now consider here is, let me just annotate something. See, the very first point that we should notice is like the cluster, if our data is similar to one another, so that must be something like very compact to each other, right? These data points should be as close as possible because they are similar, right? So it is basically the quality of cluster is measured by the compactness of a cluster, uh, like right basically the distance of data points within same cluster, that should be minimum because that will define the similarity of data points between themselves, right? So as compact as this cluster was, this will be considered as a good cluster, right? While the dissimilar cluster or dissimilar data points like this this should be as far away as possible, right? Then that cluster would be considered like good clustering because we are able to distinguish two clusters separately, right? And again, for this particular cluster, the distance between the data points within itself should be minimum, right? So the cluster should be basically compact, and the distance between two clusters should be maximum, right? So there is 2 points. First point is the cluster should be compact, right? The data points should be as close as together. And the second point is the dissimilar cluster, dissimilar data points, right? Those who are not of similar types, that cluster should be as far away as possible, right? So there is a term in there is a technical term for this is like it is known as inertia, right? So inertia is a measure that tells us how far the data points are from each other, right? So the distance that I was telling you within a cluster is known as intra-cluster distance. This is known as intra, right? This is known as intra-cluster. And the distance between two clusters is basically not two cluster, but the data point distance between the data point of one cluster to the data point of another cluster is known as intercluster distance, right? So these are the two terms, right? So what we want to minimize intra-cluster distance and we want to maximize inter-cluster distance. So uh, the the our cluster will be better when the intra should be when the intra is minimum and the inter is maximum, right? Now, uh, having said that, now I would like to basically demonstrate you with the example. So what happened in k-means is basically we will start with some random initialization, right? The k here in the k-means is basically you can say is a hyperparameter, right? We have to prior define the k, right? We have to define the number of cluster. At k is nothing but the number of cluster that we want in our data set, right? How in how many clusters we want to divide our data, right? This is simple as that. So we need to define it prior, right? So the very first step in k-means is basically initializing the cluster, and the whole k-means is based on basically Lloyd's algorithm, right? That's and that we are going to discuss. So we are going to initialize starting k, right? The number of clusters that we want, right? And let me demonstrate it to you with the example, right? Suppose these are the data points. So here the number of nodes is basically data point. These are 100 data points available. Suppose we want the number of cluster to be 3, right? We want these data points to be divided into 3 clusters, right? Then the very first step what happens is basically these centroids, these dots that you are cross symbol that you are seeing, that blue, green and red, these are basically the centroid. Centroid is nothing but you can understand it as a basically for the very starting it is some random point at particular in between our data points, right? Now what happen is as soon as I click the step, see what happens. Every data point present in our data set will calculate its distance from these these centroids, random allocated centroids, right? For example, if I consider this particular data point, so this particular data point will calculate its distance from this blue centroid, also calculate this distance from this centroid, also calculate this distance from this centroid. Now what happen is this particular data point will be allocated to the centroid that is nearest to it, right? That's what because it is nearest to it, it will get allocated to it. In the similar fashion, all the data points will get allocated to their respective cluster based on the minimum distance, right? So in this way this happens, right? So the very first step is initialization of the random centroids. These are the 3 centroids that get initialized at the random point randomly. And the second is basically assignment of data points to the centroids, right? This is what happens. Every data points get allocated to each centroid, right? Now the third step is basically recomputation of centroid, right? What does it mean? it it means like I have for this particular cluster, it is now known as cluster, the as we are seeing at this particular step, right? This is one cluster, this is one cluster, this is one cluster. So what will happen now is, with the help of all these data points, we will calculate mean, and after calculating mean, this centroid will relocate to that particular mean. So centroid is nothing but the mean position of the data points allocated now, right? So I guess like with the when we I compute the mean, so it will be like somewhere here kind of thing, right? For this, if I will calculate, then the centroid will move here. For this, if I will calculate, the centroid will move here maybe, right? So let's see what happens. As soon as I click the step, see, the centroid moves here to here, the centroid moves here to here, the centroid moves here to here, right? This is the third step where the centroid gets recomputed, right? Now again, the every data points will calculate its distance from the new relocated centroid, right? Maybe the distance will become lesser for another centroid now, right? Let's We will see, right? If our data points gets changed or not, right? So basically what happened is, third step is basically uh, recomputing the centroid, basically mean, and basically relocating the centroid, right? And then again assigning the data points to it, assigning the data points to the centroid, right? And this step will get repeated until and unless we will reach convergence, right? What happens, what does convergence means, I will let you know, right? So as soon as I click is next, so it will be like, see, every data points calculate the distance from each centroid, and the data points gets assigned to the nearest centroid. It As soon as I click, it will like uh, keeps computing mean and keeps allocating, right? So as soon as now I am hitting the step, see, now there is no change happening in the centroid as well as data points. Now it is set to be that, or basically algorithm has reached to its convergence, right? Because there is no change in the centroid as well as no allocation of data point is happening, right? So this is known as convergence, right? Where our centroid is not moving or not relocating that much, and our data points are not getting assigned to any new cluster afterwards, right? So in this way we will reach to convergence. So these four steps that I have told you is nothing but the k means approximation, or basically it's a approximation algorithm. That's why it is known as k means algorithm, right? And it is, as you see, it is an iterative process. It will keep iterating until and unless it will get to its convergence, right? So this is only key means. So with the help of this, we will get to a final or cluster. For example, now if I will try to see for five cluster and I will see new, there are five centroids allocated, and as soon as I click this step, five for this will get allocated to itself, and then recompute and then assign, and then this, right? And then convergence happen, right? So in the notebook, it is clearly mentioned. Let me erase this. All right. So this is what here it is making, and we are doing with the help of basically Python. So here we are with the naked eye, we can say that there are four clusters here, right? See, these are centroids and these are clusters. Now, the step that I told you, basically assigning, recomputing the centroid and then assigning the data points again, right? This is also known as expectation maximization algorithm, right? Expectation is basically when we are assigning the data points to its nearest cluster, right? And maximization is basically when we are trying to recompute the mean and relocate the centroid, right? This is also known as expectation maximization algorithm. Right, so these are the steps that we have seen live, right? These are just the Python code that we have done. And as I have told you, the number of clusters must be selected beforehand. So this is one of the drawback in k-means that we have, right? Now, the very next question you must be having is, right, how to select the optimal k, right? How I get to know that what should be the number of clusters that I should have picked up so that our model will result better best, right? So, uh, for at more basically for the most of the times, the best number of cluster will come with the domain knowledge, right? Business domain knowledge, or with the help of some business guy, with the help of basically when we discuss about what are the things, what are the problem statement we are solving. So most of the times we will get the answer, basically number of clusters from there only, right? But still, to assure this, we do have some kind of basically matrix, you can say, with the help of which we can basically assure ourselves and get to know that all right, this might be the optimal key. So we do have elbow method in the with the help of which we will basically we are trying to plot basically the error term and the number of keys, right? So as soon as a key decrease, so there is kind of elbow formed in that particular curve, and we will consider that particular optimal key. And we do have a method known as Siloe analysis, right? We do have Siloe score, so with the help of which we can calculate, get to know that what is the optimal k, right? Now, what I'm going to, yeah. So the next thing that I want to tell you is basically the term that I have told you, inertia. So inertia basically tells us how far the data points are from each other, right? This is what inertia is. So, so what happened is how I'm telling you about elbow curve, right? How do we form elbow curve? So what happened is, suppose we do have like a cluster kind of thing like this, and we do have data points like this. So the pairwise distance, right? The distance, the distance between one data point, one to one another data point. So we are what we are doing is we are basically sum of square error, right? We will calculate the square error, sum of square error of the data points from each other for basically different keys, and we will plot a curve, right? This is basically k, and we will plot like for k is equal to 2, we then k is equal to 10. We can plot different basically for different keys we will plot the error term, right? So what happen is this curve seems to be like this. Sorry. So this curve seems to be like okay, just a minute. Sorry. I don't know where it goes. Just a minute. Yep. So this becomes like this, right? It is almost like zero kind of thing as soon as we increase the k to a very large extent. Why? Because at that particular time every data point is considered to be as a cluster, right? We will see this concept at later point of time. So what happen is, if you basically I didn't basically I haven't drawn it that clear, but when we draw actually, so it will be like a human elbow, right? Where basically at a certain point it will drop all of a sudden, right? So we consider the basically the elbow point as the optimal key, right? Whatever the k will be here, we'll consider it as an optimal k. So this is basically elbow point, right? And in Siloe school, basically uh, we have, as I told you, we want to maximize our intercluster distance and minimize our intra-cluster distance, right? So it uses that fact and used to compute, yeah, basically the score based on that, and we want to minimize slow score, right? As the maximum slow score, the better is our basically the k will be better, right? For whichever k we get the maximum slow score, we will consider that. So as soon as I told that this is basically based on Loyer's algorithm only, right? So we do some initialization, and this is the thing, right? Now, as I told you, in the very starting step of k-means is basically random initialization of centroid, right? So it it basically totally depends what our cluster will be on the very first system, that is random initialization of centroids, right? For example, consider here these are my original points, right? Even a 5-year-old kid can basically tell you that, well, we have three clusters, right? This one, right? Now we want to basically do with the help of k-means. So for a particular k, we can get this particular thing, right? We will consider it a good cluster. But what happen is, for a particular basically for some another initialization of centroid, for the very for another initialization of centroids at the very first step, our clustering can look like this, and this is here now, and this is the situation where our clustering will be like worst, right? Because this is supposed to be one cluster, this is supposed to be one cluster, this is supposed to be one cluster, but because of the very first step random initialization of centroid, it got screwed up, right? So we need to basically take care of, right? What should be matlab, how can we basically do this initialization, right? The very thing that I explained you. Now comes here the part of, as I told you, closeness is basically SSC on this kind of thing, right? Convergence. Now the second thing is basically, if we talk about the limitations of k-means, it is basically k-means has problem in the cluster of different sizes, densities, and non-covalent, right? Right. So these are the some drawbacks of this, and the very one thing is also that we have to prior decide what should be the number of cluster. See what happen if we have different sizes of cluster. Our original data points look like this, right? This is the big, basically you can say circle kind of thing, and these are two are this small. So when we do initialization with three, we might end up with this particular thing, right? This is one cluster, this is one cluster, this one, but this is not where this is not the original thing that we want, right? So it basically doesn't give that good result when our data points basically clusters have different sizes, right? And different densities too. See, These in this particular thing, data points are far away from each other. In this they are very compact, in this they are also very compact. When we do random initialization, we might end up with this particular thing, but this is not what we want, right? Now comes the non-gobbler part. So non-gobbler part is something that is not kind of spherical and higher in 3D and hyperspheric sphere and are higher dimensions, right? What if our data looks like this, right? This half moon kind of thing. So when we do k-means, so it will consider like this is our first cluster, this is second cluster, but this is not the thing, right? We end up losing our original shape, right? This is again the limitation of k-means. So one thing is to basically overcome in k-means is basically increase the number of basically k's, right? But that doesn't work that good. Now the another thing that I want to discuss is another type of clustering. Widely used clustering is hierarchical clustering. So hierarchical clustering, the name itself says that it is some sort of clustering in which there is some sort of hierarchy, right? Hierarchy is what you can say, like a tree based kind of thing, right? The top, very topmost, and then goes, then breakups at certain points, and then further, like parent child and their child, their grandchilds, this kind of thing, right? So this is basically a hierarchy to something, right? So this is exactly what happens in hierarchical clustering. So yeah, we do have two main type of hierarchical clustering. The very first is agglomerative hierarchical clustering, and so the second one is divisive hierarchical clustering. Right? The term agglomerative is basically the term agglomerative in English. It means basically grouping, right? We are grouping the things, right? And the indivisive, it is so clear that it basically does division, right? So what happened in agglomerative is uh, we will consider every data points as a single cluster, right? At the very first step, let me just share or annotate, right? At the very first step, you can say, for example, we have these four or five data points, you can say, right? We have these five data points. In the very first step, we will consider these five data points separately as a cluster, right? These five are different clusters. Now what happens is, based on the similarity, right? Based on the similarity, basically based on the distance, they will group together, right? If they are clustered, they are basically one cluster, it is one cluster, it is one cluster, it is one cluster, it is one cluster. So based on the similarity, based on the distance, they will group among themselves, right? And form a bigger cluster. For example, if this and this are similar to is similar together, then they will form a cluster. And suppose this is not that, basically in the at this particular very first iteration, this particular is far from both door, and this particular and these two also form basically have some similarity, so they will cluster together and form a bigger cluster. Now what happen is, now again, this is one cluster combining these two data points, right? These two clusters, you can say. Now we will calculate the similarity again, basically distance. And if suppose this cluster, this particular combined cluster and this cluster share some similarity, so this will form another big cluster. And as they have, so again, ultimately, these two cluster will form similarity, and ultimately a big cluster will be formed, right? So it is basically a bottom-up approach, if you see, right? We have different we have each data point as a single cluster. We are merging or we are grouping these data points to form a big cluster, and then repetitive doing this until we reach to a particular big cluster, a single cluster. This is nothing but agglomerative hierarchical clustering. The second type of clustering, that is divisive, is nothing but just the opposite of this agglomerative, right? We do have a big cluster and then we will divide, right? Now again the challenge comes, how we will decide to divide, right? When to divide, right? So because of various other reasons, divisive is not that used in industry, right? It is not that used, right? Agglomerative is the one that is used most of the times, right? Divisive is not used that much, agglomerative is used that much, right? This is a bottom up approach, as I told you, right? Suppose these are, there are four data points, they are now considered to be a separate cluster. Now for every iteration this will get combined. For example, these two share some similarities, so these two will be a group together as a red cluster, and this will be alone as a single cluster. Now in the second iteration, what will happen, it will be like they are sharing similarity, so it will form a big cluster and then it will form a big cluster with this particular point, right? We are merging at each step, right? Divisive is just a top-down approach, also known as DINA sometimes, divisive analysis, right? We do have a big cluster in which we have all the data points as a all data points, right? Now we will, at each station we will basically divide it to form get a single basically single cluster, right? So this don't worry about proximity matrix. This is just that what I have told you, that is the distance between the distance between each cluster, you can say, if data point is considered to be as cluster, right? So what happen is, suppose we have five data points here. So this will be basically calculate the pairwise distance. What will be the distance from one to one? It will be zero, obviously, to itself. So diagonal, all the diagonal elements will be zero. Now it will calculate distance between 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. After filling up this particular matrix, we will see that which is the minimum what are the which is the minimum value, right? So based on that particular minimum value, suppose 3, right? Zero will be like basically it will be zero will be diagonal elements, so will not consider. After that I can see like 3, like, so you can see this 3 and this 3, right? So 1 and 2, right? You can see, so we can, at the very first station we can combine 1 3 together to form a big cluster. In this way we will keep doing this and growing this, right? This is particular basically our hierarchy. See, we do have 3, so we will merge 1 2 to form a basically a big cluster, that is 1 2. Then again we will do, and in the similar fashion we will do and get a particular big cluster, right? Now, the thing is, basically, there is a, you can say, what I'm going to tell you is basically, yeah. Now, here you can see the advantage of hierarchical over k-means. The very first thing is, we here we don't have to define k. While in k-means, we have to prior define that what are the number of clusters that we want before proceeding further, right? In hierarchy there is no such case, right? We can proceed randomly, because every data point is considered to be a cluster, right? And then we can go up further, right? Now in hierarchy, if you see that we can divide, we can stop at whatever cluster we want, right? For example, for every data point we started, and after that, after a few iterations, we got up to like a 5 cluster we are getting, right? So if we want to see how our data looks like at 5 cluster, so we can see, right? we can check, we can basically the context is here, we can stop at whatever number of clusters we want and check our desired result, right? While in k means if we have decided to go for 3, it will compute for 3, and for if we want to check for another, we have to recompute all the computations, right? So this is one of the advantage of hierarchical over k-means. And one more thing that I would like to tell is basically the tree diagram that I have showed, basically combining data points on the clusters to form a big cluster and then doing the same thing again. So this basically forms this particular structure, tree-like structure is nothing but we call as dendrogram, and this is dendrogram. At the very first step we calculate the proximity matrix and keep on adding and keep on adding, and finally we get a big cluster, and this particular structure is known as dendrograms. Basically this is a term that is mostly used in data mining, right? Basically clustering is the concept that originates from the data mining only, right? So this is the whole context of basically our hierarchical clustering and k-means, right? So yeah, and after that we will basically find out some patterns that to give a business perspective, we can think of this way, like suppose I'm basically a fintech company in which I basically have to basically give credit basically I want to know that what type of customer should I target. Like for example, if I take the example of trade, right? So I want to know what are my potential customer. To, for example, I want to know whom can I basically uh, provide the offers, whom can I provide some different type of basically off kind of thing or coupons kind of thing, right? So when we do clustering, so based on that clustering, we can segment the customer group or the targeted customer group. That all right, boss. These particular cluster are the group of customers that are basically not that active in our platform. So we must send them an basically greetings with the help of some a handsome amount of cashback kind of thing, so that they tend to use our platform more, right? So in this way we can give it a business perspective. So that's where the clustering help us to find insights, right? So yeah, in a basically brief context, this is what clustering is, right? The overall context of drugs is this only, right? And I hope you get the work somewhat context of clustering, right? There are some concept of linkage as well, but it is basically I'm not going to discuss it right now because I am supposed to basically I just want to give you the overall context of what clustering means and where can we apply, right? And what are the major types of clustering that we used to do in industry, right? So I hope you like the basically the context that I gave, right? Uh, so yeah, so yeah, thank you so much. I hope this somehow made your concepts more clear, and yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.